Shalom. To give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, Governor and the Apostles, and others of great news to do well. Peace and blessing to Yakiman who will have pushed this truth before calling today. Right, so we're going to a little topic today. Not too long because coming out dates, going it dark just now. Talking about the new covenant. Right, because really and truly, you see a lot of people, you'll have a lot of controversy pertaining to what the new covenant is, who the new covenant is for, what it pertains, and all these different things, right? So you say that go through a few precepts to talk about it today, right? Because really and truly, the new covenant was originally a promise, right? And it started with the old covenant, and then it had the new covenant, right? Genesis Genesis 12 from 5.
12 and 5?
Okay, starting with who? Right?
12 and 5, right?
Yeah.
Genesis 12 and 5. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came.
Right, by even certain precepts talk about speaking the language of Canaan, because that Canaan, the land of Canaan at that time, that was the promised land, right? That was the land of Israel before Israel went and take it over.
Correct.
Right.
And Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land.
Right, because it wasn't their time wasn't fulfilled yet. You understand? They had abominations and things to do in the land to be spewed out of it for we to take it over. You understand? Because it will say well, everything at that time and a season. At that time it was the time for them to dwell in it. And then after Israel did serve in Egypt and live and wander into the wilderness for 40 years, that is when they now would have to go and take that land from them. Right.
Verse 7. And the Most High appeared unto Abraham and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Most High, who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Most High, and called upon the name of the Most High.
Right, and that is where it have a lot of controversy when it comes to talking about our promise, because people will say, right, to thy seed. And when people hear that, remember Abraham had plenty of offspring, right? He had Ishmael, had Esau, there are a lot of different nations that came out of Abraham. So people just want to say, well, because of that scripture, it means that it's for all the nations that came out of Abraham, but that is incorrect, right? That is incorrect, right? But one of the promises that are unto us is that land. Look at Genesis 50.
So I'm precept there.
Come through.
Let's see if I can get it here. Alright, this is Galatians 3 and 16.
I'll now take it to my head.
Yeah. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He said, not unto seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed, which is Mashiach.
Because Mashiach came out of that chosen lineage, that same lineage of that seed of who that promise was ready for. That is why you see Mashiach didn't come out of Ishmael. That is why he didn't come out of Esau or any of the other nations that came out of Abraham. He came out of the chosen nation. Right? You get that from in Genesis 50, verse 23. Right? He have a reason why he came out of the chosen lineage. Right? And he said what? He came to redeem what? His people. All these different things specify what it is, who he was, and what he came to do, and what he's going to return to. Right.
23, right? Genesis 50 and 23. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation, the children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and power will surely visit you, and bring you out of this land unto the land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.
Now here you say he will bring them out of this land. Right? So that even before Joseph the died, he said that.
God.
He said he will bring them out of this land, which at that time was the land of Egypt, right? Of Mizraim. He said that bring them out of that land and bring them into the land that he swore unto Abraham, then unto Isaac, and unto Jacob. And Jacob's name was changed to what? Israel. That is the lineage that the Lord working with. And a lot of people there's want to still believe that is for all of Abraham's offspring, when it's not so. There's nothing foundational in scriptures that proves that, right? It shows that it's on to the lineage through Israel, through Jacob, and who named chose Israel, so it's everybody of Israel.
God.
Right? That is who it is for. That is who the promise is for. If you get also in Romans 9, right? And the whole Hebrews 8. Right?
Romans 9.
It's not from what?
Romans 9 and 1. I say the truth in Mashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Mashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites.
No, you see how you say, he wished that he could be accursed for his kindred, for his brethren according to the flesh. He wasn't, and I always say that pattern you see that all the prophets are always used to follow. When you're watching the prophets, the only thing there was ever concern about was the Mosai and their people.
And the kinsmen.
There was never concern
Never had a spiritual Israel.
about the heathens. There was never concern about the heathens. There always used to be, they used to curse out their people for doing the wrong thing. But they always used to be concerned about the well-being of their own people. You always see them praying, saying, forgive them. Don't turn your face away from them. Bring them back to the land. All these different things, right? The prophets, even we have to say, are thou at this time going to return the kingdom unto
God.
You never hear them say, so what about them? What about them Ishmaelites on them? What about them Moabites? Give them something too, nah? You never hear that. Never once. The concern was always about Israel. Because that's really what it was about. Mosiah, Yahushua, and Israel. Right? Right.
Verse 4. Verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption.
Now, where's adoption? To adopt means to take in an outsider. Right? So you say Israel pertains to the adoption, which goes back to Hosea. Right? Right? Which goes back to the prophecy that was fulfilled of Hosea. Right? And all these things happen in a particular way for that particular reason, because prophecy must be fulfilled. So Israel was casted off, and then they were grafted back in. Right? They were casted off, and then they were grafted back in for a reason. Right. Hosea 1 verse. With Hosea 1, I'll start from 9, right? It then said Power, call his name Lo-Ami, for ye are not my people. Right? That's when God casted them off, so they became like outsiders. You understand? They became like heathens. Right? I say, and I will not be your power. It say, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. So that pertains to the prophecy of being casted off and then being adopted back in, or the reconciliation, as they call it, right? And as I always say, in order to be reconciled, you must have first been connected in the first place.
God.
You can't be reconciled to something you was never a part of. Like you had a wife, you'll split and you'll reconcile.
God.
If she was never your wife, there has no reconciliation. Right?
You can't split in the first place.
And simple-minded Jakes out here, they can understand that simple concept. Right? When you go back in
Romans 9.
Yeah, so it says who pertain to the adoption. So we know, according to the teachings of the Gentiles, the correct teaching, they have the Gentile as in the actual Gentiles, the heathens, and then it have the Hellenes, which are the Israelite foreigners who are in a Gentile state of mind. That's why you say in times past, ye were Gentiles, carried on to these dumb idols. Right? They was in that state of mind, but now they have understanding to know the truth. Right? So
Romans 9 and 4. Who are Israelites to whom pertain the adoption
so the adoption pertains to them, go ahead.
and the glory and the covenants
And the covenants.
and the giving of the law and the service of power and the promises.
And the promises. And the promise. One of the promises is what? Kingdom. You understand? One of the promises is the land. All of the different things pertain to the new covenant that is promised unto them, but with other things. To make sure that this time we wouldn't lose it. You understand? Because in times past when we got the land, even though the land is promised unto us, we keep recently getting cast out of it because we were subjected unto sin. And always going off, whoring after the heathens, doing abominable things. And the Lord said that. He said, if it is we do bad things in the land is going to spew us out. And that is what used to happen. The land used to spew us out constantly. That is why with the new covenant, they go and have a futurist state to make sure that that never happens again. Right? You finished the info?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll bring Hebrews. Right? Right? Like I say, go and have a few twist take and a few differences to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself, so to speak. Hebrews 8, I'll start from 6, right? They say, but now had he obtained a more excellent ministry, right? By how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, right? Because the new covenant is different from the old covenant, right? It's better, a better covenant. It say which was established upon better promises. And the old covenant was for Israel, and the new covenant is no different. The new covenant is also for Israel. You know? They say, for if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. So the first covenant was like rehearsal. You understand? It wasn't made to be forever. It was for a time period. You understand? In preparation for the new covenant. Because to the old covenant, it wasn't through Mashiach, it was through blood sacrifice and all these different things. The new covenant is through Mashiach. You understand?
Come like an update or upgrade.
Right. And upgrade not only through him, but also through the things that we're going to receive. You understand? It say verse 8, it say for finding fault with them, and the fault was us. Why? Because we're not sinful flesh. We wasn't able to keep the things that we're supposed to keep. Because the law is perfect. The problem was us. We couldn't be able to do what we were supposed to do because we're not sinful flesh. They say, for finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So he even specifically say who it is he's going to make a new covenant with. You understand? And they talk about that in even though they refer to it in a separate way, because what? Northern kingdom and southern kingdom, because it had a split. In Ezekiel 37, they say what? They talk about bringing the two sticks together as one. They're not going to be referring to Israel as the northern and the southern kingdom. You understand? Israel going to be viewed as one, as it originally was, and as it's going to be once again. Right? Right, they say, with the house of Israel, with the house of Judah. It said, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand and led them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind. I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts. and I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. And that is one sign to show that we're not under the new covenant yet. Because we are still transgress. We are still as Paul, if I remember correctly, as Paul say, they say the things I would not I do. You understand? We still under that burden, we still under those curses. Under the new covenant, we're not going to be under the curses. We're not going to be subjected unto sin. The scripture say what the creature was made subject unto vanity. Under the new covenant, when we are changed and we have that the laws in our hearts and in our minds, we're not going to be going off anymore. Right? We're not going to be transgressive. It's not going to be difficult to try to keep things. Right? All of these things pertain to the new covenant. Receiving our land, which is our land, not to share with anybody else, our land. You understand? Having a perfect mind and a perfect heart, that you'll never do anything wrong again. Right? Even Apostle Gabar did a video about that. In terms of like the next thing we want to talk about, which is those bodies that we also going to receive. All of those things pertain to the new covenant, which the heathens are not going to be a part of.
Jeremiah 31 and 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
Before you continue, see how the Lord said in two different places. He said in the old and in the new. Just like how he said Jacob I love and Esau I hated. He said in the old and he said in the new. That means he didn't change his mind. The people who like to think that it's different now, he didn't change his mind.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in the inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, say the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
You see they will all know the Lord. And the scriptures say what? Hereby ye know that ye know me, if ye keep my commandments. You understand? That is to show you that in that time, you're not going to be struggling to do the correct thing.
They wouldn't have nothing in place for you to break the law.
It's going to be like, even if it have something there, they go have pork right there, nobody mouth going to be watering like, oh gosh, stay sweet enough. It will be as easy as walking up and down the street. That's how easy it's going to be righteous in that time. That's how perfect we're going to be. It could be like literally walking up and down and breathing air. That's how natural it's going to be for us. The heathens who will be subjected to the law, they're not going to have the laws written in their hearts and in their minds, so they will struggle.
What I was getting at now, because this is not you have a point there, but that wasn't really the point I was getting at a point like the law concerning the menstruation, how one touch something and it's unclean.
Oh, like all that.
You know, it will become unclean unto you. So in this kingdom now, because we're in power.
Or we will be able to have proper governance over everything also to make sure that nothing happens.
So that will be unclean when they, you know what I mean?
And
that way the public, like for instance, public transportation here, if a woman with menstruation sit down in that seat and they come and you sit down, you know? That's what I mean now.
Yeah, correct.
You would not know way to sin ignorantly.
And even if some woman did sit down there, you would know.
Can't.
You understand? You could watch that spot and like, hey,
right.
nah, don't sit down. Yeah, you can literally see because he's going to be doing things that off. And it's not like we're going to be ignorant to it. You understand? We might even have the vision to literally see when somebody transgress, or like, you come. You do something. And you're looking off. You might have just see it in the spirit. Give 1 Corinthians 12, 1 Corinthians 15, from 15. Yeah, so that's going to be the kind of power that we're going to have. Not only to keep the law perfectly, but at the same time, to be able to even know when others not keeping the law.
1 Corinthians 15:50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of power, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption.
So, I just show you what we minds corrupt, heart corrupt, flesh corrupt, everything corrupt. So, in order for we to inherit what we had to go inherit, everything had to change. Everything had to change. Besides the soul. Everything else had to change.
Right, that's so. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality.
So I know scriptures talking about those new bodies that are there for us. And in those new bodies, not only going to have a new heart and a new mind that's going to be perfect, but the bodies that we're going to have, the scriptures talk about what death being swallowed up. Right? You see, bodies in, so I can get a quick in Revelation.
One will say, I'm dead. Where is thy sting? Around.
I got that one.
No, I don't have it.
That's not. That's fine. Revelation 7. I forget exactly what I want to say. That might take too long to look for. You'll see if I hear about talk about it. You understand? So when that time, when you get new bodies, we're not going to experience death ever again. Ever again. We're going to have no more dying. We're going to go back to our original state. And even better. Because in the original state, it was, even in time of Adam, it was still possible for him to sin. But in the time that going to come, it will be impossible for us to sin. You understand? So we're going to go to that true perfect state in body and in mind. Okay?
It's not 7.
The one I paraphrasing in my mind, I thought it was 7, but 7 similar, but it's not the one I was looking
Why does that shall be swallowed up?
no more death. And hell and death. And
So
death and hell was cast in the lake of fire.
Fire.
Yeah. Death and hell was cast in the lake of fire. You understand? In that time, after we receive those new bodies, we're not going to get sick ever again. We're not going to die ever again. We're not going to have anything like that ever again. Don't forget that one, man. Go back in the go back in the Corinthians.
Alright, 54. Yeah, 54. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
That's what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
most likely. Most likely. The one I was talking about is when you always try to say, oh, that where is thy sting?
Right.
It's in Revelation 20.
So like it's right there I was thinking, and
20s.
I'm thinking it was something else. So like, yeah.
Oh, that where is thy sting? Oh, right there.
You see? I feel I was thinking.
But that's what I was looking for.
I was thinking
Where's
about
thy
something
sting?
else. Yeah, I was thinking about something else. See
I
how it is?
thought
See how that is? See
Revelation.
how that is? Right? In that time, it's like that's where is thy sting. That's going to be it. And the Lord even say what there's some of you that hear that shall not even taste the sting of death. So there are some men living alive now that will just simply transcend into new body.
That's what we now read it.
You
It says
understand?
not all will see, but some will be changed.
You
And
understand?
then the dead will rise incorruptible, and then the rest will be changed.
So
Those who are alive.
the ones who not going to die, they will just be transfigured, and the ones who are dead, who are to die for the word, and so who are martyrs and so forth, and who died as time went by, they will receive the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. And they're going on rise in those new bodies, which are part of the promise. Right? Those bodies are part of the promise. Just like the heart and just like the heart of flesh. to get rid of this stony heart, this rebellious heart that we have, and always transgressing and taking evil towards brothers, always lusting to do the wrong things and so forth. All of these things are part of the new covenant that the Lord is bringing forth when He returns. And all of these things pertain to Israel and nobody else. Only Israel. They say who are Israelites who pertain to the adoption and the promises and so forth. Guys, did I finish it all right?
That's all. Finish 55. 55. Oh, that. Where is thy sling? Oh, grave. Where is thy victory? Yeah, that's it.
Okay, go to Ezekiel 36. This one I will link to. Ezekiel 36 from 7.
36, Ezekiel 36 and verse 7. Therefore thus saith the Lord power, I have lifted up my hand, surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. But ye, O mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come.
They are at hand to come. You see who the Lord even talking about, he say my people Israel. Right? Make a quick precept on that before you continue then. Right? Because that was always the concern of the Lord and the prophets. That's why the Lord say what? You only have I known among the people. That's paraphrasing.
Deuteronomy, I believe it's Israel, even my first one.
Exodus.
Exodus, yeah.
See, the Deuteronomy 22. Verse 8, they say, when the Most High divided the nations, the inheritance, right? When He separated the sons of Adam, okay, see what He separated the sons of Adam. Because the Lord is dealing with separation. People hear that, but when it comes to other people, when you look at all the different things in the world, right? You can't just say a tree. You have to say a pine tree, coconut tree, an apple tree, because it have many different varieties of trees. When you see a canine, you can't just say a canine, you have to say a pit bull, German shepherd. You can't just say a bird, you have to say a parrot. You understand? If you want to be specific, the Lord created variations of every single thing in the world for reasons. And even to talk about that in 2nd Ezra 6 also. When you say He created many rivers, but one He made holy unto Him. You understand? He created many birds, but He hallowed one unto Himself. Many beasts. I think they say the lamb. That was the reference He used. And He say out of all the people, He sanctified who? One people, which is Israel. Because that's how the Lord is work. Even though He creates a variety of different things, out of those things He hallowed one thing unto Himself out of each. You understand? Out of all the trees. Out of all the trees they hear in the scriptures, right? Why they always talk about the palm tree? Why? You understand? Why they never hear talk about coconut trees in the scriptures? They talk about palm trees. No apple trees or pear trees. The Lord just hallows certain things unto Himself, even though He created multiple and different variations. There are certain things He's hallowed unto Himself. You never hear Him talk about the scarlet ibis and the coquelicot. He just talk about the turtle dove. You understand? And just like people, all the nations on the earth, He hallowed one unto Himself. Just like everything else. You understand? But people can understand that when it comes to everything else in the world. But when they want to look at people, there's this idea that all people are the same. You understand? And the thing that gave them that idea or that teaching in the first place is Christianity. Primarily. Because Christianity teaches them to believe that all people are the same. Even though the people who are teaching them that do not view them as the same. Because the people in high places, they don't look at you like you're the same as them. They don't. They just look at you like you're nobody, and they sit on high seats making laws for you to follow, and they don't look at you as their equal. But they teach you to look at everybody as if you all are the same. Right? See, when he divided the nations, the inheritance, when He separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. You see, for the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Right? And that is straight facts. Right? You can't get around that. That is why he was given the firstborn inheritance. As the brother was talking about, Israel is my son, my firstborn. That is Exodus 4:22. Go back in here.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Verse 9. For behold, I am for you, and I will turn unto you, and ye shall be tilled and sown. And I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it.
Which men he gonna multiply?
All the house of Israel.
He didn't say he gonna multiply all men of all nations. You understand? Now people just want to take out the out of all nations concept and try to make that into everybody, but that is not everybody he referring to. Right.
And I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it. And the cities shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be builded. And I will multiply upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bring fruit. And I will settle you after your old estates, and will do better unto you than at your beginnings, and you shall know that I am the Most High.
So, you see that you see the land flowing on milk and honey that they received in that time. You see, when silver was like stone in Israel,
Yeah, God.
you say you're going to do better. So, in that time, is it going to be stone like silver like stone? It's going to be gold like stone or platinum like stone? Or whatever better
more
you can think.
precious,
You
yeah.
understand? That is how it's going to be. And better than that. Right?
It say, yea, I will cause men to walk upon you, even my people Israel.
Not all men, unless they're breaking the back doing something.
God. And they shall possess thee, and thou shalt be their inheritance, and thou shalt no more henceforth bereave them of men.
So you go and is the land he's referring to, right? And he said, thou, which is the land he's talking about, shall be their inheritance. Not all people's inheritance. It's going to be their inheritance. Israel's inheritance. Right.
Thus saith the Lord power, because they say unto you, the land devoureth up men, and has bereaved thy nations. Therefore, thou shalt devour men no more.
Because what? They were transgressing in the land.
God.
And when you say transgressing in the land, even at that time the heathens was in the land and they was transgressing, and animals used to be killing them out and stuff. You understand? When Israel used to be transgressing in the land, you start pestilence. You start things to take them out.
Right.
And if not, they would just be spewed out of the land, because the Lord already the enemy is coming. Just like I was talking in Deuteronomy 28, you see, I will send a nation from far. You understand? And take them captives and so forth. That is what used to be going on with us. Whenever we was off, we never used to have no peace in the land. Because if there wasn't some problem happening to us in the land, it would be somebody from outside of the land coming and destroy us and taking us away. But all that going on come to an end. Because we're not going to go off anymore. And if we have a proof, because when you look at the curses only apply when it is we go off.
God.
If we go and have a perfect body, perfect heart and mind, we will never go off again. Which will mean the curses will be completely eliminated. That is another promise. That is another part of the promises that we're waiting for. To never go off again, to be free of the curses. So we'll only be obligated and privileged for the benefits only, for the blessings only.
God.
Go ahead.
14. Therefore thou shalt devour men no more, neither bereave thy nations anymore, saith the Lord power.
You say bereave by nations?
Bereave thy nation.
Thy nation, alright. Yeah, the land would do no harm unto them anymore. The land itself is to turn against us. You understand?
Neither will I cause men to hear.
If I can say that, is to show you how spiritual the land is. Imagine the land itself used to turn against us when it is we was not doing certain things. Right.
Neither will I cause men to hear in thee the shame of the heathen anymore. Neither shalt thou bear the reproach of the people anymore. Neither shalt thou cause thy nations to fall anymore, saith the Lord power.
So it will no longer be an embarrassment unto ourselves, or unto the city, or unto the Lord.
Be a reproach. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, When the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way, and by their doings, their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman.
And if I could say, even now, you can see Israel still do the same thing. Even though they're not in the land, they still look to their own way of doing things. Even though we out here warning them, telling them here what is going on. The reason why you're here in the first place
It's because he was doing what he was doing now.
you understand?
So he's spinning top in the mud,
And,
basically.
and still, under the afflictions of the own actions, and they still
doing
will
it.
not learn from it. They will still continue doing the own thing, the own way. It's like you say this now, eh? I'm gonna get her quick and that's what Jeremiah. This Lord really say Israel is a stiff-necked people. You know? You ever be beaten a child, and while they're beating the child, it's still doing what telling it to them? That is Israel. You know?
Can I see that? Right?
No, but that is Israel. That is Israel. While they're beating them, even the scriptures say what? I have smitten your sons in vain. They receive no correction. You understand? That's how bad we got Israel have it. So there's Jeremiah 11. I'll start from 8, right? I'll start from 7. Jeremiah 11 from 7, right? It says, for I earnestly protested unto your fathers in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, even unto this day, rising early and protesting, saying, obey my voice. And the Lord didn't already use that this was the prophet speaking, because remember the prophets are the mouthpiece of the Lord. And they used to be rising up early and telling the people, do what the Lord said to do. You understand? Don't go after your own wickedness and so forth. Right? It says, verse 8, it says, yet they obeyed not, nor inclined their ear, but walked everyone in the imagination of their evil hearts. It said, therefore, I will bring upon them all the words of this covenant, which I commanded them to do, but they did them not. Which is, you gotta get the curses, because that is the promise. That was the old covenant. Blessings and the curses.
If you hearken, you get the blessings, and if not, well, sorry be your portion.
Blood sacrifices when you mess up and all these different things. So that is what Israel receiving right now, the curses, because majority of our people are off. But even the Lord say what he had reserved unto him with a small sanctuary. And this is something that he always did even in past times. It's like I tell Ezekiel, if I remember correctly, he said, I reserved 5,000 men unto me that have not bent the knees to Baal. The Lord always had a small sanctuary that he always used to preserve out of everybody else that used to be going off. And these days, that is what the tabernacle of David, right? The elect men and the wanted. Those who will actually follow in the things that the Lord told us to do and be sincere. Right.
Verse 18, wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it.
Like I say, when the Lord called you, as the scripture says, that the spirits created for vengeance. Remember when David messed up, and he say, and the Lord gave him 3 to pick from, and he picked the one where he said he go and smite them. The man literally see an angel swinging a sword, and he had literally hold back the angel from killing out all of them. Because the angel was going out.
God, this is the same precept law, and that same that is what Seraphim.
That one, that particular one I talk with me Critical for Vengeance. Critical for Vengeance, that is Sirach 39:20.
Right.